Okay, so we're gonna finally get back to, well, let's get rid of these. I'm just gonna Control X here. Okay, we're gonna finally get back to that prompt function I showed before. So just in the console here, I'm gonna remind you the alert function, right? Hello world, did this, and I run it. And notice this undefined here. When we run a function in the console, it shows me what this function returns. So we can pass data into a function, right? So like this alert function, we're passing in the message. But functions can also return data, right? So we say, hey, alert function, here's this message I want you to print out. You give it to the alert function, and the alert function gives you back undefined. Now, undefined just means it's not defined. It doesn't, there's nothing here. So the alert function isn't meant to return anything. So that's why it returns undefined, right? Because it's like, I'm just doing a message on the screen and there's nothing to return. However, when I do the prompt function, right, what is your name, let's say, it'll open up a prompt box. I'll type in Mr. Veldkamp. When I hit OK or hit Enter, it then returns whatever the user typed in. Okay, so the prompt function will return things. If I had done John, the prompt function would return John. Okay, so remember this is just the console. This is where we can just test things out. This isn't my actual program, right? I can't save the console commands and run them again. I want to write my code inside of this main.js. So the cool thing about this prompt function returning something is, well, if the prompt function returns something, what can I do with that value, right? What can I do with what it returns? Well, we can store it in a variable, right? So instead of putting the word John here, we're actually going to call the prompt function, what is your name? And then, so when JavaScript runs this line of code, it's going to see this prompt function, it's going to run it, right? It's going to open up that prompt box, the user will type something and say OK, and once the function or the user hits OK or enter, this function will return whatever the user typed in, and that will get stored inside of the variable. Okay, that return value, right, that string that it returns gets stored in that variable. And then here we'll do the same thing. We'll do with the prompt function again. We'll just say what time of day is it? And then it'll, whatever the user types in, the prompt function will return that value to this spot, right? The prompt function goes back to where it was called from, and whatever the user typed in gets stored inside of this variable. This is called, I'm going to add a comment here. This is my input section. And basically what I mean by input is we're getting input from the user. We're saying, okay, user, I need some information from you, right? I want to get your input. So what's your name? What time of day is it? Then we're going to do this, this process section. We're going to take the input and we're going to process it. We're going to say, okay, I'm going to take this input and I'm going to put it into a message. And then our last step here is the output. Right, now that I've processed your information, I'm going to output the result. All right, this is a very, very common algorithm, the IPO algorithm. IPO, input, process, output, right? Often we do that. Ask the user for some information, do something with it, output the result. Okay, let's save that. We come back to here. What is your name, Mr. V? What time of day is it? Morning. All right, and then it builds the message and outputs it. Hello, Mr. V, have a great morning. Awesome. I run it again. What's my name? Let's go Azra, and it is afternoon. Hello, Azra, have a great afternoon. One more time, let's go Megan. Morning. Hello, Megan, have a great morning. Right, so if we walk through this, the prompt function runs, asks the question, whatever the user types in gets stored inside of this variable. Prompt function runs, asks the question, whatever the user types in, it gets returned and gets stored into this variable. Then I use those variables to build this string, right? We insert those values into this message, into the string, and store it in the message variable. And then I alert whatever is inside of that message variable. Input, process, output. Okay, that's a great start. This is, like I said, this is a very common algorithm, input, process, output. You'll do this a lot. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, take care and see you in the next video.